My boyfriend and I had a terrible breakup. The year he loved me most, I took the 3 million his mother gave me, aborted our child, and betrayed him. He knelt outside the operating room where I had the abortion, crying and begging me not to be so cruel. He said he would hate me forever. 6 years later, when we met again, he had found a beautiful girlfriend from a suitable family, and they were about to get married. Meanwhile, I was a mess when I sought him out. Hoping to borrow some money, he forced me to attend his wedding. Wanting me to watch him marry another woman and bring her home, he asked me, "Do you regret it?" He didn't know yet that I had raised our child alone. That child was sick and close to death. 6 years after our breakup, I reunited with Robert at the lowest point in my life. It was a class reunion, and no one expected Robert to show up. Someone joked, asking him, "Mr. Robert never keeps in touch with us. Why the sudden appearance at the class reunion this year? Is it because you heard Sarah was coming, and you're still thinking of her, here to find her?" I sat in a corner, my back suddenly stiffening. I looked up to see Robert, a cigarette dangling from his lips, watching me coldly. Everyone knew how much Robert used to love me. He was the young master of a wealthy family. But he fell in love with me at first sight, that year, for me. He broke ties with his family, gave up power and money, and fought desperately to be with me. We lived in a small apartment, shared instant noodles and canned soup, living a hard life, but a happy one. Every intimate night, we intertwined our fingers and swore to be together forever. Until later, when I got pregnant, his mother gave me 3 million, telling me to abort our child and leave him. That day, Robert knelt outside the operating room, pounding furiously on the door, over and over. He cried and begged me, "Please, please. I'll work hard, make money, and build a band home. I promise I'll earn many, 3 million, all for you, please. I beg you, don't leave me, and don't abandon our child." Lying on the operating table, I bit down hard on my lip, forcing back my tears. Through the thin door, I heard Robert say he would hate me forever. Nobody knew how messy the breakup between Robert and me had been. Someone pushed me towards Robert, laughing as they asked him, "Mr. Robert used to love Sarah so much, age give up his life for her. How could you bear to let her go?" Everyone was cheering, saying we should get back together. Mark, Robert's brother, glanced at me, smirked, and suddenly spoke up, "What kind of woman can't Mr. Robert get? What is Sarah compared to him? Why should my brother dwell on her?" He said there was a woman who had been with Robert for 3 years. That woman was gentler, prettier, and a better fit to be Robert's girlfriend than me. Robert had been dating her for 3 years. Mark even called her Sophia. I heard they were getting married soon. Everyone's laughter died down. Only Mark was still smiling, inviting everyone to Robert's wedding. He tossed the wedding invitation over, hitting my face before falling into my lap. I looked down and saw Robert's name on the invitation, and next to his, another girl's. That girl was named Sophia. Just hearing her name, you knew she was a good girl. I thought she must be more sensible, more compliant than I, better at caring for people, and wouldn't always make Robert unhappy. 6 years apart, a long-awaited reunion. Knowing Robert was doing well, that was enough. Suppressing the tears that threatened to fall, I looked up and said to Robert, "Congratulations." Robert stared intently at me. Hearing me say congratulations, he suddenly smiled, brutally stubbed out the cigarette in his hand, and said to me coldly, "Sarah, don't come to the wedding. My wife will be unhappy if she sees you. If she's unhappy, I'll feel pain." Clutching the thin, red wedding invitation, I froze, smiling. I nodded and said softly, "Okay." That day, everyone said it seemed Robert truly didn't love me anymore. Nobody expected we had once loved so deeply. In the end, he was getting married, but the bride wasn't me. Everyone thought Robert would wait for me forever. Everyone was curious about the girl named Sophia, who she was, to make Robert so infatuated, so loving. Knowing Robert didn't want to see me, I left the class reunion early. On the way home, Emily, a friend, sent me a picture of Sophia. Sophia in the photo looked very pure. I heard she smiled a lot and was very charming. The kind of girl Robert liked. Emily asked me, "Sarah, don't you think Sophia's smile looks a lot like yours? Do you think Robert still loves you? Is this the end for you two?" I let out a soft sigh. Silent for a long time, then smiled and said, "It doesn't matter anymore. I don't care. I don't want to be entangled with Robert anymore. I thought he would never know that I had secretly given birth to our child, keeping it from everyone. That child was sick and close to death. This year was my poorest, my hardest year. I worked myself to the bone to make money. wanting that child to have the best medicine, so he wouldn't be in so much pain when he was sick. For money, I could shamelessly go to a class reunion to borrow, or work as a hostess in a club, drinking until my stomach bled. I thought this would probably be the last time Robert and I would ever see each other. A few days later, the girl named Sophia found me. Sophia had probably heard from others that she looked a lot like me and wanted to see me. She came to the club with a few friends, specifically asking for me. One of the girls asked me, "You're Sarah, right? Mr. Robert's first love?" Her eyes were full of contempt as she looked at me in heavy makeup, as if saying I was dirty. I clenched my fists, suppressing my anger to avoid trouble, and just asked them if they wanted drinks. "If you're not drinking, don't waste my time making money." That girl probably felt I wasn't showing her respect and yelled at me, "What's with your attitude? Didn't you hear me asking you a question? You're so rude." She pointed at a bottle of hard liquor and said to me, "All right, Sarah, you like money, right? Drink this whole bottle in one go, and I'll give you 200,000. Drinking that whole bottle would probably land me in the hospital. Sophia pretended to be worried and tried to persuade the girl. "Didn't we agree we'd just come to take a look and wouldn't make things difficult for Sarah?" Although others said she was good at seducing men and warned me to be careful, even Rob said I was too naive and that she might bully me. But it'll be fine. I listened quietly to Sophia's words and understood. She was telling me how much Robert liked her and how much he hated me. I smiled, said nothing, and just asked her friend, "So we agreed, I drink a bottle, and you give me 200,000. Right." Then I picked up the bottle from the table and started pouring it down my throat. Everyone was stunned, not expecting I would risk my life for money. Sophia took my hand and gently advised me, "Sarah, how can you ruin yourself like this for money? As women, we should know what shame is." I didn't want to say this, afraid it would hurt you, but do you know, Rob hates women like you the most. I finished the bottle, enduring the sharp pain in my stomach, and cut her off, asking, "Where's the money? What Robert likes or dislikes is none of my business. I just want the 200,000 you promised me." Sophia frowned, looking at me with disappointment, and said in a soft voice, "Sarah, honestly, that 200,000 is just pocket change for me. I could give it to anyone, but not to you. You can blame me, but I'm doing this for your good. I can't watch you continue to spiral downwards." Her friend pushed me, laughing, and said, "I was just messing with you. I'm not giving you the money. What are you going to do about it?" Coldly, I started laughing along with her. Then I raised my hand and violently smashed the bottle I was holding. The flying broken glass cut Sophia's leg, leaving a wound that seeped blood. Sophia's tears instantly fell. The women who had been noisy moments before were now silent. The next second, the room door burst open. Robert stood in the doorway, looking at me coldly. I froze on the spot, not daring to look him in the eye. Wearing heavy makeup, working as a hostess, drinking with men, trying to please them for money. Robert saw me like that. I wasn't afraid of others looking down on me. I just didn't want Robert to know how pathetic my life had become. But in the end, even that small wish wasn't granted. I could only muster all my strength to pretend I didn't care, forcing myself to look up and watch Robert reach out, pull Sophia into his arms, and gently wipe away her tears. Then, word by word, he asked me, "Sarah, who do you think you're bullying in front of me? Want money? Fine, apologize first." Watching Robert protect Sophia, I remembered a long time ago, when he used to protect me the same way. I knew Robert wanted me to appease Sophia. It didn't matter. For money, I would do anything. Sophia, hidden in Robert's embrace, secretly smiled at me, seeing the wound on her leg. I picked up a piece of broken glass and brutally cut myself. Then, holding out my bleeding hand, I said calmly to Robert, "Give it to me. The 200,000. Robert looked at me, and his eyes suddenly welled up. Sophia saw Robert's expression, and her smile stiffened. She pulled out a bank card, placed it in my hand, and said in a soft voice, "Sarah, I'm giving you the money today, not because I owe you, but because I don't want to make a scene over a little money like you do." Too disgusted to watch her act noble, I took the money and turned to leave, but Robert grabbed me. He called my name, gritting his teeth as he swore at me, "Sarah, doesn't it f***ing hurt? Can you die without money?" The way he tightly furrowed his brows, it looked like he was hurting for me. I forcefully shook off his hand, turned back, and said with a cold laugh, "I've always been a woman who loves money, Robert. Didn't you know that? Mind your own business, and keep your woman in line. Don't bother me anymore." Robert stared at me, his gaze terrifyingly cold, as if he wanted to devour me whole. What I said must have reminded him of the past, when he gave up everything for me, but I abandoned him cruelly for money. My stomach hurt, and I didn't want to say anything more to him, so I turned to leave, but suddenly I felt light, my feet leaving the ground. The next second, Robert had me hoisted over his shoulder. He was like a bandit stealing a woman, a cigarette in his mouth, carrying me out of the room. Everyone was watching. I struggled desperately, telling Robert to put me down. He raised a hand and slapped my butt, snarling at me, "Sarah, I must owe you from a past life to let you mess with me like this." He threw me into the car, leaned over, pinned my legs down, and gripped my face, swearing viciously, "Sometimes I want to kill you." His expression was full of hate, yet his eyes always seemed to tell me that he still loved me. My stomach was hurting too much to speak. Sweating coldly, I glared at him. Robert frowned, opened the car's glove compartment, took out an antacid, and put it in my mouth. In the corner of the compartment, I saw my old lipstick I couldn't bear to throw away after using, a broken hair tie I used to tie my hair with, and the childish pink hair clip Robert had bought me years ago. Everything about me was there, keeping Robert company for a long time during the days I was gone. My tears suddenly fell. I turned away, quickly wiping them away with my hand before Robert could see. After so many years, he still remembered I had stomach problems. Even when I wasn't there, he still made sure to have medicine ready for me. But I hardened my heart and used all my strength to shove him away, forcing myself to smile at him. I said, "Robert, stop bothering me, okay? You're so annoying when you cling to me. You probably don't know yet, but I've been married and had a child already. Do you still want to get back together with me?" "Robert, don't be pathetic." He stumbled back to steps from my push, frozen there. The moment I got up to leave, he suddenly reached out, pinned me against the car, gripped my neck, and said through trembling, gritted teeth, "Sarah, I don't believe you. You better tell me you're f***ing kidding, or I swear, I'll kill you." I looked him straight in the eye and said calmly, "Fine, I'll prove it to you." I took Robert to the children's hospital. At 9 in the evening, the inpatient ward lights were still on. I stood outside the hospital room, pointing through the glass at the child quietly reading inside, and told Robert, "That's my child. That child was named Leo. He was my sweet boy, my precious." He looked a lot like me, but his personality was like Robert's, thoughtful, gentle, yet a little bossy, with a stubborn look in his eyes. He inherited all of Robert's good qualities. He was such a good child, but he was sick, almost 6 years old, so thin and small, yet so well behaved. It broke your heart. Robert stared at the child for a long time, then clenched his fist and slammed it hard against the wall. He lowered his head, and it looked like a tear fell. I had never seen him so distraught. That night, the last thing Robert said to me was, "Sarah, you have guts." He didn't ask who the child's father was, nor did he recognize that the child was his child. Later, Robert never came to find me again. I only heard that he bought Sophia a lavish wedding dress and an expensive diamond ring, and took Sophia home to meet his mother. I heard his mother liked Sophia, and Robert said he would marry no one but her in this lifetime. Our classmates were all sighing, "I'm so envious of Ms. Sophia, to be cherished like a treasure by a man like Mr. Robert." But Ms. Sophia is a good woman anyway, gentle and generous. She heard that Sarah is very poor now and even wanted to give Sarah some money to help her out. Such a kind woman should be protected for a lifetime. Looking at the messages in the class group chat, my heart pounded violently, and a bad feeling started to emerge. It wasn't until I went to the hospital that I heard from a nurse that Robert and Sophia had come to see Leo. The young nurse apologized to me, saying she accidentally told Sophia that Leo didn't have a father. I heard Sophia ask Leo, "Sweetie, I heard your daddy doesn't want you or your mommy anymore, is that right? Do you know, your mommy is very pathetic? To pay for your treatment, she drinks with all sorts of men every day. She's very dirty. It's normal for your daddy not to want a woman like that." Leo yelled at her, "You're lying. You're the dirty one. Mommy and I don't want your money. Now leave." Trembling all over, I rushed in. Sophia turned and saw me, startled, then frowned and said, "Sarah, look at your child. I just wanted him to know how hard you work, and he's throwing a tantrum at me. He's so unruly." Before Sophia could finish speaking, I reached out, grabbed her hair, slapped her hard twice, dragged her to the door, and shoved her into the hallway, pointing at her nose. I swore, "Sophia, are you f***ing trying to provoke me?" Covering her face, she couldn't believe I dared to hit her. Feigning innocence, she sobbed at me, "Sarah, I just wanted to help you, nothing else. Rob didn't want to get involved with you, but thankfully, he listens to me and knows I'm kind. If he didn't help you, I'd feel guilty. I truly wanted to help you, but now that you've hit me, Rob will be angry with you again, looking at Sophia. I laughed coldly, so she had come to show off. She just couldn't help but make sure I knew how much Robert loved her, far more than he loved me. Looking at her ridiculous act, I said coldly, Sophia, you wanted Robert. He's just a man, I gave him to you. But you're insatiable, aren't you? You just had to provoke me? Then I grabbed her collar and whispered, go ahead, keep provoking me if you have the guts. I'll be sure to wish you and Robert a happy marriage. And while I'm at it, I'll tell him the child I had is his. Guess if he'll still want you then. Sophia froze on the spot. I watched her face slowly turn pale, gritting my teeth. I told her, now, you're going to apologize to my son, and then, get out. Just as I finished speaking, Robert opened the hospital room door and walked out. He grabbed my arm and pulled me away. I lost my balance and my back slammed hard against the wall. He looked down at me and asked with a smile, Sarah, since when did I need your approval to decide which woman to marry? My wife marrying me doesn't need you to give her to him. Who the hell do you think you are? My back hit the wall, and I let out a muffled groan of pain. Leo must have heard. He ran out barefoot, put his hand in front of me to shield me, and glared up at Robert, stopping him from touching me again. Robert looked down at him, smiled coldly, and said dismissively, you're just like your mother, annoying. I watched Leo's eyes slowly turn red. That one sentence must have broken his heart. Under his pillow, he kept a picture of Robert. He had always known Robert was his dad. Every painful night after he got sick, falling asleep in his mother's arms, he would dream of his daddy coming home. He would dream that his daddy missed him very much, just as he missed his daddy, always crying secretly in his sleep. He would say his daddy wouldn't leave anymore and wouldn't let mommy work so hard. But later, he woke from the dream, and Leo saw his daddy, only to hear him say, you're just like your mother, annoying. Robert only glanced at Leo before looking away. He seemed a bit irritated, frowned, threw a bank card at me, and said flatly, take this for your precious son's medical bills. Swipe $1 million. 10 million. Whatever you need. Stop working as a hostess, and don't forget to thank my wife. After saying that, he held Sophia and turned to leave. Leo watched his figure slowly walk away and whispered, Daddy. Then he turned back, held back his tears, and said softly to me, Mommy. Leo doesn't want Daddy anymore. His expression was so serious, as if he had so much more to say, but then he suddenly started coughing, spitting up blood, mouthful after mouthful. It splattered on the floor, on me, and on the picture of Robert he was clutching in his hand. I watched helplessly as he slumped softly into my arms, hearing him whisper, Mommy isn't dirty, Mommy is clean. It's all Leo's fault for getting Mommy's clothes dirty. Mommy, throw Leo away. Don't want Leo anymore. Don't make yourself suffer so much. Listening to his voice grow weaker, watching him slowly close his eyes, I screamed his name hysterically. I hadn't even told him. How could there ever be a mother in this world who would abandon her child? He was my flesh and blood, carried for 9 months, a piece of me. The nurses around us were in a panic. They took him from my arms and rushed him to the ER. I forced myself to stay calm and followed. Looking up, I saw Robert sprinting down the hallway. Tears streamed down his face as he asked me, trembling, Sarah, did someone just call me Daddy? I watched the ER doors slam shut, the red light flashing, and collapsed onto the floor, unable to utter a single word. Robert reached out to help me up. I grabbed his hand and bit down hard, with all my might. He didn't pull away, just endured it, until I tasted blood, until my strength gave out. I finally broke down and pushed him away. Getting to my feet, I asked him desperately, Robert, why did you come back? Why do you have to torment me? I just wanted us to part ways amicably. I was doing just fine on my own. He gritted his teeth, cutting me off, and retorted, Sarah, you ask me why I came back? Don't you know? I've been f***ing dying thinking about you. You say you were doing well, running around borrowing money, drinking with men, ruining yourself, living a life in the gutter. You think that's good? You think I wanted to find you? I just couldn't help but hurt for you. Tell me what I'm supposed to do. Sarah, you're the one who wronged me. How can you be so cruel to me? What right do you have to talk about parting ways amicably? Robert grabbed my shoulders, his eyes fixed on mine. He wanted an answer, so I would give him one. That year, after college graduation, Robert broke ties with his family to marry me. Everyone targeted him. He couldn't find a good job, couldn't make any money. He didn't say a word, kept it from me, and secretly found manual labor work on a construction site. I remember, during that time, he was exhausted every day, even frowning in his sleep, but the look in his eyes when he looked at me was always gentle and firm, full of love. He said he would work hard, earn money, buy a small house, put my name on it, and give me a warm home. We would get married there, have children, and hold hands tightly, living a simple, happy life forever, until later, when I got pregnant, he had an accident at the construction site, falling from the roof, and almost dying. The doctor said if he didn't get treatment quickly, Robert might be paralyzed. I knew Robert was such a proud person. This was something more painful than death for him. That day, I went to beg Eleanor, Robert's mother, to save her son. I will never forget the look in her eyes when she looked at me, contemptuous and disgusted. She said she had plenty of sons, and one Robert dying wouldn't be a big deal, even if Robert had once been the golden boy, the most outstanding person in the entire Robert family. But a Robert who couldn't inherit the Robert family wasn't her son. Why should she take out $3 million to save a worthless failure? That was the first time I knew people could be so heartless. That day, I knelt on the ground, knocked her head until it bled, and begged her to lend me $3 million. I said I didn't want Robert anymore. I thought Robert would probably hate me to death. Forget it. Who says people who love deeply are destined to be together? As I spoke, I grabbed Robert's shirt and told him hysterically, "You wanted to know who Leo's father is, didn't you? Fine, I'll tell you. He's your child. Are you happy now? He's dying. Are you satisfied?" Robert grabbed my hand, tears falling one by one. It was as if he was hurting for me, yet he fiercely questioned me. "Sarah, how dare you lie to me? What right did you have to take my child and let him suffer so much? He's dying, and you wouldn't even come to me." I slapped Robert hard, then burst out laughing, and retorted, "Robert, what would I come to you for? To have you give up everything and follow me again? Do you think your mother would have let me or Leo go? Robert, there are things in this world more important than love. I don't want you anymore. I just want to live a quiet life. Why do you have to torment me? My child could have been cured. I didn't need your money. Even if I had to borrow, steal, or rob, I could have cured him on my own. He was so good, so obedient. He never cried when he got shots or took medicine. Even the doctors said he could have gotten better, until Robert showed up with Sophia and disrupted my peaceful life yet again. That day, Leo was saved by the doctors, but he fell into a coma. Nobody knew when he would wake up. I stared blankly at him lying quietly on the hospital bed, looking like he was asleep. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Sophia secretly smiling. She pretended to sigh, frowning as she blamed me. "Sarah, if you had told Rob, I told you earlier. I'm not a stingy person. I could have let that child into the Robert family. Let him call me mommy. He wouldn't have had to suffer so much. It's all because of your fake pride. Now you've almost killed him." She probably felt relieved at last. Leo was alive, but no different from dead. And between Robert and me, a wound had been inflicted that would never heal. She thought I would never forgive Robert, and in the end, she would be the one to marry Robert. She probably forgot that the reason I didn't want Robert back then was that I wanted a peaceful life, but now, everyone knew Robert and I had reunited, and knew our child was grown. There were plenty of people who wouldn't make my life easy. I thought, since they all wanted to make things difficult for me, why not make things difficult for everyone? Before Sophia finished speaking, Robert coldly cut her off, telling her to shut up and get out. I quietly watched the child on the hospital bed, hearing Sophia crying tearfully behind me. She asked Robert, "How can you send me away for Sarah? I've been by your side for so many years. I became whatever you liked. I love you more than Sarah does. Don't you know that? Rob, I'll do better than Sarah. I'll never betray you. Please don't leave me, okay?" Listening to her words, I smiled softly, turned to Robert, and said, "Robert, I've changed my mind. I want you to marry me and bring me home, back to the Robert family. I want you to give me everything you have now." Then I smiled and looked at Sophia's expression, watching her face turn ashen. The next day, Robert broke off the engagement with Sophia. Meanwhile, I moved out of my cheap small apartment and into Robert's mansion, coming and going with him openly, without hesitation. Someone took pictures of me and posted them online. Soon, netizens dug up that I was Robert's first love. Someone leaked that Robert used to love me fiercely, but I became pregnant with his child, and had manipulated him. They said I went to his mother and demanded $3 million, promised to abort the child and disappear, but instead secretly gave birth to the child, and then came back to threaten Robert when he was about to get married. Netizens sympathized with Sophia, saying she was so beautiful and came from a wealthy family. She was the woman who deserved Robert. They knew I used to work as a hostess. They called me disgusting. manipulative, everything seemed planned, quickly escalating. I watched the online comments with indifference. When the public opinion reached its peak, I released an audio recording. The recording contained the entire conversation between Eleanor, Robert's mother, and me that year. You could hear her say, "She has plenty of sons. If Robert dies, he dies." You could also hear her say, "That 3 million was a loan to you to save Robert. That money will always be your debt." This was the only way the old me, in my most scared and helpless state, could think of to protect myself at the time. It seemed like trying to crack a stone with an egg, utterly naive, looking back now. It was the perfect move. That day, I won a spectacular victory. The entire internet went wild discussing the ruthlessness of wealthy families, and me, who suffered so much to save Robert. The matter quickly escalated to the level of the powerful preying on the weak, and the Robert family's company's stock price plummeted. I heard the board collectively stepped in, demanding that Robert break up with me immediately and get rid of me. This big problem, Robert just smiled and said coldly in front of everyone, "Losing a little bit of money like that. What the FCAC is the big deal. As for Sarah, I'm marrying her. No matter what." Robert didn't care at all. Trying to touch him now wasn't as simple as before. If he refused to be controlled, for a while, no one could get a handle on him. Finally, his mother couldn't sit still anymore. She came to find me, bringing Sophia with her. After 6 years, I finally saw this woman again. She had aged a lot. I heard the board had cornered her, and she'd been sleepless for days, exhausted, acting like the lady of the house. I smiled and invited her in, but stopped Sophia at the door. Sophia couldn't pretend to be gentle anymore and yelled at me, "Sarah, I knew you had bad intentions. You deliberately came back to steal Rob from me. If you were so pure, why didn't you just die when Rob was harassing you? A dirty woman like you, trying to marry into a wealthy family? Dream on." Eleanor, Robert's mother, got a headache from her yelling. She waved her hand, hurrying someone to close the main door. I looked at her and smiled lightly, picked up an orange from the table that had been peeled, and asked her, "Want some?" Robert peeled it for me himself. She laughed angrily, glaring at me. "Sarah, I underestimated you before. I didn't realize you could endure so much. After all these years, did you come back to get revenge?" She paused, composed herself, and half threatened, half advised me, saying honestly, "What happened the past couple of days is nothing to a wealthy family like ours. Once the storm blows over, the Robert family will still be a prominent family, but what about you? You're not suitable for Robert. How about I give you a sum of money and send you and your son abroad? You can live a stable life with him." If she had said that 6 years ago, she might have fooled me, but now, I was certain that the second I left Robert, I would be flayed alive, my bones ground to dust and thrown into the sea. The Robert family would not allow an anomaly like me to appear a second time. I smiled and said softly, "Mrs. Eleanor, your tactics aren't as sharp as they used to be. I suppose you've aged, and the power you hold isn't as firm as before. You speak without confidence now. That feeling, it's not pleasant, is it?" She choked on her words, probably not expecting that the girl who used to kneel at her feet begging for help was now sitting in her home, taking charge, and she felt helpless. She gasped, the muscles in her face trembling slightly, gritting her teeth. She threatened me, "Sarah, you think just because Robert is here, I can't touch you? The entire Robert family isn't his to command yet. I could ruin you once, and I can ruin you a second time. As long as I'm alive, you'll never marry into the Robert family." Smiling, I finished the entire orange, then calmly and slowly said, "It's okay, Mrs. Eleanor, I can wait." She glared at me fiercely and asked, "Wait for what?" I smiled back at her, my smile deepening, and said provocatively, "Wait for the day you agree to me marrying Robert. For that day, I can wait forever. I can wait until you close your eyes in death and can't make decisions anymore." She couldn't believe I would say such a vicious curse to her. Covering her forehead, she trembled and cursed me, "Sarah, you think if you make me angry enough to die, you can marry into the Robert family? The Robert family would never accept someone disrespectful like you." As she spoke, she collapsed onto the sofa. I raised an eyebrow and told someone to take her to the hospital. She had no idea that marrying Robert wasn't important to me. What I wanted was simple. I just wanted everyone to be unhappy. That's all. Later, I heard that Eleanor, Robert's mother, had a stroke. Although her life was saved, she was paralyzed. she would never walk again. The doctor said that with long-term physical therapy, she might improve. He looked at Robert, waiting for Robert to make a decision. Robert lit a cigarette, stood at the head of the hospital bed, and looked down at the woman on the bed. After finishing the cigarette, he said calmly, "Why should I spend money to save a worthless failure? Robert always holds a grudge." These were the words that woman had given him many years ago today. He finally gave them back. 2 years later, Robert finally got his wish and married me. His mother was right, even without her. There were plenty of people who tried to stop me from entering the Robert family, to marry me. Robert fought and grabbed desperately, offending countless people, and firmly grasped the Robert family's power in his own hands. Sometimes watching him, even I felt tired for him. I asked him, was it worth it? He said he just wanted to prove to me that he was the same as before, that he loved me the same way, that he was still willing to give me everything I wanted. He said he had never changed, looking at his tired eyes. I remembered the past, when we were squeezed into a small basement apartment with nothing, but his eyes were always smiling, bright like stars, full of hope. Maybe words can lie, but love doesn't. I thought our brief reunion was only meant for us to say never again to each other. But he wouldn't let me go. It's come to this, with no turning back. On our wedding day, Robert asked me, "Sarah, can we finally be happy now?" I smiled and kissed his lips, whispering, "Don't be silly." Robert seemed to have forgotten. My Leo never woke up in the end, forever 6 years old. I said, "Robert, let's just torment each other for a lifetime." Epilogue. Robert and my story was written as a romance about getting back together. In the years since we married, carrying the title of Mrs. Robert, I navigated the high society, although I didn't have a strong family background. Thankfully, I was quite clever. It took me 5 years to learn what others took 20 years to learn, watching myself become more and more secure in my position as Mrs. Robert. Over time, I began to feel that status and power were truly good things. The girl named Sophia, who once wanted to compete with me, had her name come up again at a dinner table with several wealthy businessmen. I heard her family was facing bankruptcy, but she didn't know how to do anything to save her family. She had no choice but to marry an older industrialist 20 years her senior, and become a stepmother to 3 children. Power and status are this cruel. Everyone raised their glasses to me, saying there were too few capable women like me in this world. I smiled, thinking to myself, I was just lucky to have met someone deeply infatuated. Thinking about it, that luck wasn't all that good. But if I said I didn't want it, someone would probably call me pretentious again. When I got home, it was already 2 in the morning. Robert was already asleep. On the shirt he had taken off, I saw a woman's lipstick stain lately. He's always been so careless. I pretended not to notice, showered, and slipped into bed. Just as I was about to fall asleep, I heard Robert ask me, "Sarah, why aren't you angry?" I turned over and saw he was watching me too. His eyes were dim, staring intently, as if trying hard to find a trace of sadness on my face. I gently kissed his lips and said softly, "Aren't men all like this? They want what they can't have, and once they have it, they stop valuing it, always seeking something new. It's their nature." I said, "Robert, you've given me everything you think is good. I'm not that greedy. I stopped wanting your love a long time ago." He laughed softly, his laughter full of sadness. The moment I turned my back on him, he pressed down on me, gripped my face, and kissed me fiercely, passionately. He said, "All right, Sarah, let's just torment each other like this for a lifetime. Love and hate intertwined. I guess that's what this is."